Charity best ball is one of the absolute best ways to get involved in fantasy football, and UK fantasy football has a global network to play in this with our recent leagues that we've got from a charity perspective over here. I'm joined by Matt Cullen of the JTT Cup to talk about all things charity best ball. And I guess we should start with, Matt, what is best ball and how does the charity format lean into that so perfectly?
So, best ball is a really popular format. It's become really popular in the last, I'd say, 3 or 4 years. I've been involved in fantasy football for 15 years, and best ball really wasn't a thing on my radar until the last 3 or 4 years. And I think it's a popular format because, during COVID, lots of people joined lots of leagues because they didn't have a lot else to do except for do drafts. And then they realised 2 or 3 years down the line they were probably in too many leagues. And best ball is obviously a format where you don't have to worry about lineup setting or adding players or making trades. And some people don't like best ball for that reason, but there's a lot of people that do love it for that reason. So I think that's why it's become so popular. And it's a really easy format for new people that are joining the fantasy scene to get involved in as well.
Yeah, I think especially as we're kind of going to talk later about growing of charity leagues, it's a really good entry level to the format, isn't it? And I think what we found is a lot of people that take part in best ball will then, I'll do a redraft now. Well, actually, I'll have a look at Dynasty, and it is a really nice gateway draft, I guess. And like we said, I wish there was a bit more best ball around when we've been signed up to umpteen leagues during COVID, but that's the game that we play. That multi-league format, I think, is very different with best one, lends itself nicely, doesn't it, as well? Where, so we'll talk numbers shortly, but having a huge number of leagues that all kind of come together is a key part of that element as well, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. And I think, some people who've not really been involved in best ball that join the charity leagues, they find it a bit odd to begin with that you have a large number of divisions. Well, how does that format work? Or, so how many people have Patrick Mahomes? Is it still a traditional format? Obviously, within the divisions of 10 or 12 or whatever it might be. Lots of dynasty and redraft players have questions about, well, how do your playoffs work? And what's quite good in the UK ones is that all of our playoffs work slightly differently. So it's quite good to be unique from that point of view because, people want different types of format. Although it's best ball, there's a slight difference between all of them, which is good too.
I think best ball, especially in the US, is an absolute staple of the sports betting market with fantasy sports, isn't it? And that's where that charity element really comes in. Is you're putting your money in there for the charity pot rather than for betting, and that's obviously where we generate that revenue from, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. And I think, obviously, a number of us, both of us included, have been inspired by tournaments and competitions that have been raising money for charity, longer than we have. And it's really great to see that people, there's lots of people who get involved in, 5 to 10 charity leagues every single year and donate to a lot of different great causes. And people are not shy of putting their money in their pocket, no, putting their hand in their pocket, sorry, and putting their money in their pocket, and giving us their hard-earned, or sorry, giving the charities their hard-earned cash just for a bit of fun, because everybody gets to play, network, and meet new people that are like-minded and enjoy playing fantasy football.
So I guess the first thing, so before we get into talking about both of our leagues and then the wide network as well, is make sure you head yourself straight down to the pinned comment on this page where we'll have links for both the TH Fantasy Football Bestball Bonanza and the JTT Cup. If you're not signed up already, I mean, just please do so. You won't regret it. I don't think we've ever had anyone gone, oh, yeah, maybe not for me anymore. People love getting involved in the format, and as you say, that networking element as well. I'll start off by talking about then the TH Fantasy Football Bestball Bonanza, which we've made no secret of. When we were doing set up all of our best ball, all of our fantasy football leagues or our dynasty and redraft, we were inspired just by seeing the great work that you and your team had done with the JTT Cup and that wider picture as well. And back in 2023, we thought, do you know what? We're setting up loads of fantasy leagues. Why not throw another format into it and try to make some money for charity? We were really, really pleased. Our first year, obviously, there's always a little bit of skepticism around putting money into something when it comes to the fantasy community. The fantasy community has been burnt several times in the past, and it's something we've moved away from hugely because of the work so many good charity leagues are doing. But we were over the moon to get 100 entries and just over £1,000 year one. Last year, you told us we would grow. I was kind of getting a bit kind of worried about it as we're getting towards 100 and then 190 entries and just over 3,500. And this year, we're targeting 200 entries and want to raise over, well, just beat last year is what we're aiming for, over £3,566. But the charity is the bit that I think we want to talk about a little bit more. And obviously, we're going to lean to kind of what you're going to speak about as well. But we raised for the Beast and Memory Cafe. And on their website, they talk about being a self-welcoming space for those who are living with dementia and their carers as well. It was co-founded by Ed's mum. There's our personal link into it. That's why we wanted to work for and raise some money for this charity. And one thing we were really struck by is it's a small local charity that needs just £12,000 to operate each year currently. And we're kind of over the moon that we can provide that. I say we, the fancy community can provide that over the course of the year as well. And I think when we look about dementia as a thing, so in UK, estimated that just under 1 million people are living with dementia, just under 1 million people living with it. You can probably multiply by 3 or 4 the number of people that are therefore impacted by it directly in their day-to-day life. Apparently, it's looking like it's on course to be 1.4 million by 2040. And it mainly affects those over 65, but really does impact that family network as well. And one thing that we love about this as a local charity is that there are loads of great charities working on treating and curing dementia. But for those families, that support network that a charity like the Beast and Memory Cafe, like so many other great small charities like that provide, is genuinely life enhancing. A disease like dementia is awful. The number of people we've had that have kind of connected with us to say, do you know what, I want to get involved with this because of these people in my family, this person in my family, really just kind of bring home that kind of personal element to us. And we love to see where that money's going as well. Ed was very lucky to visit a year or so ago now to go and see that money being put to use. And we're hoping to get a visit in at the end of this month as well to go and see where that money is going. And just say genuinely life enhancing, life changing things that these charities do. So we speak about that personal link that we have to it, and that's similar to your journey as well with the JTT Cup, isn't it, Matt?
Yeah, so like yours, the Joshua Town Trust is a local independent charity. So they fund care for children with brain tumours, and they work with a company called a charity called Brainbow at Addenbrooke Hospital in Cambridge. And the charity was set up by 2 parents who lost their son Joshua to a brain tumour back in 2012, and he was just 16 years old. And the parents live in the town that I live in, and I've had the pleasure of meeting them and getting to know them on a personal level over the last 3 or 4 years as we've been raising money for them. And I have to say that seeing the strength that they have to have set up, obviously a charity in Joshua's memory, raising money to help care for other children who have suffered from the same thing that unfortunately led to Joshua passing away at such a young age is just amazing to see. So I think what's great about the fantasy community, and as you've said, and just the charity leagues in general, is that we're helping some amazing causes out there, and lots of people get involved, and it's really great to see everybody come together to do that.
Yeah, and when I know you popped a video up the other day just before the JTT Cup fundraising day, which was Josh Perez talk about it, and we know that this story is there. We know obviously where the roots are, but actually to be reminded every so often of the real people behind these charities and the real lives that are impacted is so valuable, isn't it? And this is, I mean, we're just playing a game based upon a game, and people donate loads of money into it. But the impact it's having on people because of us playing a game and setting up a few leagues does really take you back, doesn't it? At times you think that is just a fancy community on social media kind of working towards that.
Yeah, I think I record odd videos, don't I? Thanks and stuff like that, and I often tweet about it or say in these videos that the fantasy community is incredible. It's undefeated. All these superlatives that we throw around, because it's these people are getting involved. They're doing something they enjoy to do. which is play fantasy football and play against their friends and meet new people for it. But the fact that they are so forthcoming in donating their money often to multiple causes is just great. And I every time I kind of get a second to sit back and think about what all these great charity leagues are doing, it's quite overwhelming actually, because people are finding times tough at the moment. A lot of people find it difficult financially, but they still find a way to support all of these causes through these fantasy leagues, which is great to see.
And year on year, people find a way to do even more, and more people get involved, don't they? So your journey over the years from first setting up has been exponential growth, hasn't it?
Yeah, absolutely. And I think we kind of got to where we were last year and wondered whether we could grow it again. And I think we sit here now at the start of May, just over 2 months away from the draft, wondering, will we grow again in terms of entries, and will we grow again in terms of fundraising? I'm kind of on the fence about it at the moment, but what I can't deny is the fact that it's been incredible to see so many people grow it, year after year after year. And what's great is that we don't lose many people year on year. There are some people who don't come back, and that's fine. I'll never have an issue with it, and there's always going to be reasons. But 90% of players from the previous year always come back, and then we find some new people as well. So, we're really proud of what we've done over 4.5 years, and we have got a target in mind this year of 17,800, I think it is, which will take us to 50,000 all time. We might not get there, but I won't be disappointed if we don't get there, because we'll still have raised a fantastic 5-figure sum, whatever it ends up being, come kickoff time in September.
Yeah, and that's the money that comes in is amazing. We know it's so well valued, and I think that's some of the bit that everyone always sees. And when we were setting up, we just saw brilliant setting up some leagues, bringing some money in. And one thing that I don't think any of us ever do is to moan or grumble about kind of the working, because actually the effort that goes into it, there is a lot. But when you think about actually the money that comes in is definitely worth it. But Matt, shall we have a little bit of a chat for those that maybe are not so aware of what goes on behind the scenes, about some of the challenges that come with running charity leagues? At the minute, the biggest one is, we've kind of alluded to, is the campaign trail, isn't it? And the drumming up of support. And I think I've heard you say a lot and seen a lot of tweets where you kind of refine that and you get used to how to go. But I don't think every year so far you get to the point where you go, oh, I'm not sure. Are we going to get enough people to make it? Are we going to get enough money? And it always comes through in the end, doesn't it? But there's a lot of work that goes behind that, isn't there?
Yeah, and I think, as you'll know, because of the numbers that you're working with now, it's not necessarily a year-round thing, but it's most months of the year you are working towards the ultimate goal that you want to get to by when you draft in July, or whenever you cut your kind of, I don't want to call it a financial year, but wherever we cut the end of the donations off and say, right, that's the end of this year. Anything we get from now is next year's. But it is, it's 10 months a year for us easily. The campaign trail is the hardest part, because I don't like to feel like I'm hassling people, but I also know that some people will come good and will join. They just need maybe more than one or two nudges. And the other thing is that there's a lot of people who play fantasy who don't even think about fantasy until June, July time, and sometimes later.
Yeah.
Then you've got the degenerates who are thinking about it as soon as the Super Bowl's finished and looking ahead to the draft. But I know, I've spoken to some people who signed up for ours in the last couple of weeks who literally turned sleeper off from the Super Bowl until the draft. So you're not going to get them people involved for 2.5 months. You're not going to get any dialogue with them. So it can feel like a bit of a slog, but I think when we get to, close to our draft time, you do get that final kind of late clamour where people are like, Christ, I haven't signed up for this league that I really enjoyed last year. I better get in touch with Pester or with Matt or whoever it might be and see if they've still got space for me. And you end up with numbers come through at the very end, like you say. But it can feel tough. you get days where you don't get any sign-ups, or you might get a couple of days without any donations, and you think, where's the next one coming from? But as you say, we always get there in the end, and that's shown in the growth of all the charity tournaments that we have in the UK here that have all grown year on year.
It's that attention bias, isn't it? I think we think because we are thinking about it pretty much daily at the minute when we're watching the numbers coming in and kind of see how it's going to work, that some people go, oh, yeah, of course I will. I'll sign up for that in June. When does it close? I'll do it then. And those people always kind of come through. The one thing, and we've grumbled about this together in the past, we both tweeted about it in the past, it's genuinely for anybody out there who signs up and then realizes, do you know what? I can't make a donation actually in the end, or actually I don't want to part anymore. It is completely fine to message and say, really sorry, son, I'm not interested. Quick public service now. Can we not ghost charity leagues, please? Is that too much to ask, Matt? Possibly is, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, last year it got really frustrating. I think we ended up with nearly 40 people who ghosted us. Now, I kind of look at that as we could have had 660 people in it last year. We only had 620. I was really pleased with the numbers that we had in terms of entrance and money raised. But I'll always look at it as that 40 people that ghosted us, that could have been another 400 to 500 quid, realistically, with the average donation, maybe even a little bit more than that. And ultimately, that's the most important thing, is how much money we raise for the charity, isn't it? For these great, and it is frustrating because you do put a lot of time into it. But like you've just said, if you sign up and you change your mind, there's absolutely no offence. And I would rather, as someone who's got a 5th year of experience running these leagues now, I would rather you said to me, I can't get involved now, I'm really sorry, than not talk to us at all, because that's worse in my mind. So yeah, as I completely echo what you say. Public service announcement, don't go to charity. It's not cool, and we won't think any less of you if you say, do you know what, I can't afford it, or I've changed my mind, or I don't want to do it this year. Not a problem at all. I've had some people this year say to me, I'm not going to do it this year, 5 or 6, and that's absolutely fine. We had a couple last year who didn't play the first 2 or 3 years, didn't play last year, and then they've come back this year. So it's always open to everybody in my mind.
We then move on to the in-season admin, and something that we really wanted to up last year, and I know you've always prided yourself on that, is that communication. Because people want to see how they're doing, especially when it's across so many leagues. People want to know if they're moving up and down in those rankings and where they're at, what their playoff chances are, even in just week 5. I think we're both very lucky to have some technical wizardry as part of the team. We have Tom, who is busy writing code to format for us to extract the data this year. He's told me AI has got him covered this year for a lot of it as well. So I'm looking forward to seeing what he turns out for that. But that's a big part of it, isn't it? That engagement. Yes, Bestball is draft and forget, but we don't want people to forget. We want people to be involved. We want that communication, that community brewing throughout the season and building that excitement, the buzz, don't we still?
Yeah, absolutely. And I think, it starts with obviously setting the divisions up. We've set a few up this week. It's setting your theme, which I know we're going to talk about in a minute. Setting your divisions up. It's getting people talking to each other that are in divisions, introducing each other, the buzz around the draft. But like you say, you've got to keep it alive for 17 weeks. And you've got to do that in a way that is productive, but also engaging. And that's where, like you say, you've got, did you say Tom? You've got Tom who does it. And
yes, yeah.
We've got a guy in the States called Mike who I think since year 2 has pulled all the data out for us. And it's great. He's a good guy. He's involved. He plays in the league as well. And he does that off his own back, in his own time. We don't pay him for it. He just does it because, again, it's just another great member of the community who's doing something to help others.
You mentioned league themes. Now, I think this is the part that causes me some of the most internal stress throughout the build up to it, because you want to get your league theme that is going to, you want something that hasn't been done recently by anybody else. You want to have something that's going to have enough names. And my biggest challenge, which we did not manage at all year 1, was balancing that UK US crossover. Now, I think you've nailed it this year with your league theme, haven't you?
Well, yeah, I guess, yeah. I mean, ours is obviously sports movies, and that's quite good because we actually did put together a list of about 80 or 90. The admin team did sports movies, but as it's turned out, we've let people choose their own this year so far. Anyway, we'll get to a point where we have to allocate people. But the early donators get to choose their own, and there's some movies came up that weren't on our original list, which is great. And we've definitely got some in there that are very much more known in the US than they are in the UK, and we've got ones that are kind of UK based. I doubt many Americans would have watched Bend It Like Beckham or Mean Machine. In the same way that a lot of us, there's a few American ones, baseball ones that I'd never heard of until we did this theme. So, yeah, you're right though. It's hard because you don't want to be copying something that's already been done or recently been done, but you also need something that's got enough to cover however many divisions you're going to have. So, and actually, when when we'd already decided on sports movies back in February, and then when Scott Fish dropped the teaser for Scott Fish Bowl 15, I actually had to message him and say, "Your theme is sports related. Ours is sports movies. We haven't announced it yet. I'm happy to change it." And he was like, "No, no, it's fine. Ours is sports teams." And I was like, "Okay, I'm happy with that. That's not a copy." So we went with it in the end. But yeah, you don't want to be doing the same as someone else. But I like yours this year as well. I think cartoons is a great one. So
Well, we got it our first year. I don't think we'd anticipated, firstly, many Americans getting involved, and also we didn't anticipate more than 50, 60 people getting involved either. So Ed and I went for just something we wanted. We loved the sitcom Peep Show. We went
yeah,
for very niche references to Peep Show. It was lost on several UK players, let alone American players for that. Last year, we thought we'd found the great level. We went for sitcoms. And I think when you say about Mean Machine, that's probably similar to what The Office was for us last year. Obviously, on a far bigger stand, but you've got a very British version of The Office and a very American version of The Office. Mean Machine, I seem to remember there was an American version of that with Stone Cold Steve Austin in. I'm sure I'll have to Google it after this.
was
Whereas
it?
our version had Vinnie Jones instead. It was Vinnie Jones,
Yeah,
wasn't it?
yeah, that's right. Yeah,
So you get some of those kind of crossover. People have very different attachments. But yeah, we thought cartoons was a great leveler, and hopefully get some good team names that come from that as well.
yeah.
Also, some very niche cartoons I have never ever heard of that people have suggested, and I've tried to be polite, go, oh, that's a really good idea, and Google it and gone, yeah, we're not doing that. I've never heard of that, and it looks awful. But some really good ones in there. We're looking forward to getting stuck into. What I really liked last year, and I think some of yours will lend into it as well this year. But the music theme last year, with so obviously every musician having a back catalogue of albums and singles, you got some cracking team names across, and you ended up doing like a World Cup of team names, didn't you, last year on social media?
Yeah, it was never meant to be that engaging and that good. We just thought we need 60 division named under a theme. There we go, artists, music, and then it just got crazy. We started setting divisions up in late April, and people were just really getting involved. I can't even remember where it started, but we started tweeting about some of the great team names we'd seen. It just snowballed from there. Um, Nearly everybody was getting involved. You get people who would set their team name and then 3 days later they'd set it again because they thought of something even better. In fact, we've had that in the I can't remember what division it is that we've set up. We've only done about 8 or 9 so far, but one guy changed his team name 3 times within about 15 minutes of joining the league. Um, so I was like, he obviously just you got to give it a little bit of thought and not just jump into the first thing that you can think of. But yeah, some real good fun had. Yeah, and last year some musicians were harder to get a good team name than others, but yeah, we had some crackers, and I'm sure we'll have some this year as well with the sports movie theme.
So Ed and I this year are in the same division as you. We're in the Cool Runnings division, so I'm looking forward to trying to find some time to rewatch Cool Runnings over the next few weeks as well. But yeah, it's a good part of it, and that team names is obviously a staple part of fantasy football as well. And do you know what? I universally hate the comedic pun for a fantasy football team name, except for when you have the added thing of a different league theme. When it's your generic play on players' names. I'm not such a fan, but I think the fancy element with the charity leagues is a really nice touch for that as well. Shall we have a chat about some other fancy leagues then? And I think we should probably start by a brainchild of yours from last year in UK Fancy League group chat. The UK, I mean, everything's got to have an initialism, hasn't it? But the UK Bestball Champions League, or the very catchy UK BBCL, which I don't think anyone will ever put in a sentence, if I'm completely honest. But do you want to explain kind of the concept behind that and what we ended up putting together as a collective last year?
Yeah, so this actually starts 3 years ago. So I've been fortunate enough, and you're in it now as well. There's a Twitter group chat for charity leagues, US based, UK based, and we're all in it. You know, we're in it with Scott and others, aren't we? So I actually have been in that for I think 2 or 3 years, and I floated the idea of doing something like this with the Americans. A good few years ago, and it just never got off the ground. I don't know why, and I didn't really push it. So obviously, yeah, it was an idea last spring, wasn't it, of mine to. We've now got 6 really well-known best ball charity leagues based in the UK. Let's try and do something for like a champion of champions, and obviously all of you guys who run the leagues that are on the screen there, we're all already happy to do so. And that's where that came from. So I think the logo was put together by yourself, wasn't it?
Yeah.
You did the
Yeah, it
logo.
was. Yeah, so obviously we've got Johnny, Murph, Sam, Stevens. Well, I think it was nice to kind of all get together and have that kind of collaborative approach for it. I think the most important part of this last year was that the inaugural champion of the UK BBCL was Samuel Madams, who was a winner of the TH Fantasy Football Best Ball Bonanza. So it was fantastic. I'm sure we can keep like a hall of fame of who has the most representatives over the course of the years.
Yeah,
We could really do that. I think we need to reach out one more time, and this needs to feed into a transatlantic absolute champion of champions at some point, doesn't it? As well, I reckon.
yeah, yeah, absolutely. And you know, it was really good fun last year. It's a different format. It's not season-long best ball. Obviously, we had it as an eliminator style last year, didn't we? So I
Yep.
think everybody played up to week 10, and then it was weekly eliminations from there. And Samuel was obviously the first winner. Last year we had it as the previous year's winner and runner up, didn't we? Because some of these had only had 1 year of
Yeah.
competition. Going forward, all of our winners will play in this for 2 years at a time. So this year it's going to be 2 years worth of winners from every competition, isn't it? So there are going to be 6 people in it this year that were in it last year. And then we're going to have 6 brand new people, all of our winners from last year joining them. So really looking forward to that starting up again. And hopefully it's just something that continues, you know, in parallel with the work that all of these great fantasy charity tournaments are doing.
And the scoring we took a key element from everyone's league to feed into that, and we ended up with 5 really well considered, thoughtful, constructive scoring features, and then some kicking scoring nonsense that Murph insisted on us including as well.
Yeah, I'm wondering. I was actually thinking about that exact scenario only a couple of days ago, thinking, you know, when we start sorting out the UK BBCL this year, obviously we need to do it after all of these tournaments have set themselves up and announced their scoring. Ours is kind of live now, although we've not disclosed it on social media. We have disclosed it in some of the divisions that we've made already. And the reason we haven't done it in all is just because I just haven't got around to doing it. As soon as they're filled, we'll announce the scoring. We've not done anything too crazy this year. But yeah, I think that worked really well last year, that we had that element of something a little bit funky from everyone, and then something extra funky from the F. I think that's what one of the Fs stands for in FFCC. Something a bit outrageous. But what's good about that is, without, you know, going too over the top, if you have something a bit funky involved, it makes people think, doesn't it? It's not
Yeah.
just your standard. If you have standard scoring, it's going to be very chalky in the drafts mostly. Whereas if you throw some curveballs out there, like Scott Fish does every year, it does lead to a lot of different strategies. And we saw that at the Scott Fish Bowl live drafts in London last year, where there were lots of different strategies at play because of the scoring, and there's no different in this competition too.
Yeah, and we've obviously mentioned some of those other great tournaments there. If you've made it this far through, though, please make sure you give us a subscribe, a like, stick a share on it as well before signing up to some of these great charity leagues. And there's so many other fantastic ones that we've kind of mentioned some of there. So Scott Fish Bowl obviously is the pinnacle, is the absolute gold standard when it comes to global charity best ball. Warrior Bowl, Battle of the Sexes, Rainbow Bowl, so many out there that gives you a chance to get involved in a couple that the charity or the theme appeals to you, or if whoever is producing some of your favorite content, you want to get involved and support theirs, or if you can get involved in all of them and just chuck a bit of money at each of them and enjoy some best ball drafts rather than mock drafts as you get ready for your actual fantasy drafts.
Yes, there's so many out there, and I think, well, some of them are invite only. I know that, but every single one you just listed on top of the 6 that we just had on the graphic, I think I'm in all of them this year. So, and to be honest, I've got a couple of dynasties that I'm playing. I've got my home league, which has been going for 15 years, still with the same set of guys from 2011, pretty much. But if I could only play charity leagues and nothing else, I would do it, because there's just such great stuff out there.
I think it's worth mentioning as well the JMD podcast team as well, because they put together the fantastic satellite dynasty leagues for you as well, didn't they, last year?
Yeah, they did. I was really pleased when Pete came to me. I met Pete for the first time at the Scott Fish Bowl live last year. Pete came to me with this idea and said, we're going to raise some money this way. Always happy for other people to raise money for the JTT without me having to do any work. So that was really good success last year, and some good prizes out of it. And he's just announced that. They've just announced that they're going to expand from 4 to 6 divisions this year, which hopefully is going to raise another roughly £450, depending on the exchange rate. About £450 towards our 2025 total as well. So really pleased with that as well.
Yeah, so if you've got space for another dynasty league, it's a really, really good one to get involved in. Really is fantastically well run by the lads, and we love the work that the JMD boys do as well. So we'll stick a link in the comments below as well. I think they've still got a few spaces, haven't they, for that?
They have, yeah, because they've just expanded to 6. So I'm pretty sure they've still got some spaces, yeah.
Amazing. Well, thank you very much, Matt. If people want to get involved in JTT Cup and they want to go beyond just the pinned link below, where can they find you to ask you more and get involved and support JTT Cup?
So there's four key areas really. So X at JTT Cup, which is obviously on the screen. We do have a Facebook group which we're trying to use a little bit more nowadays. If you search groups for JTT Cup NFL Bestball, they can visit our website, which is jttcup.com. Which does have the link to the sign-up form on the website on the front page, or they can email us at jttbestball@outlook.com.
Well, let's just say it one more time. Please scroll down the comments and get yourself signed up to both of them and donate as generously as you are able to. It's the cliche, but every little helps. If you can just pay a little bit, thank you very much. If you can go above and beyond and put more on, obviously that is massively appreciated. Well, Matt, thank you very much for joining us. I look forward to drafting with you throughout the Charity Best Ball season. And then when it comes to Scott Fish Bowl drafts in BlueSky in London, I will make sure I'm there on time this year after you did me over with my stickers last year.
I was just going to say you're going to be on time this year. But it's on
I will make sure I'm on time and not texting in my picks for you to sort out for me.
Brilliant. Yeah, no, really appreciate you having me on. Always happy to talk about the cause first and foremost, and obviously the league behind it. And look forward to both of our leagues being successful this year, and obviously seeing you again in person on July the 12th.
Magnificent. Thank you very much, Matt. All that is left for me to say now then is, as usual, Malcolm, take us home.
You have been listening to Pestle and Ed of TH Fantasy Football. For more content, follow TH_fantasy_NFL on Instagram and Twitter.